2025 marks the bicentennial anniversary of a visit to the U.S. by a famous French aristocrat, military general, and iconic hero, the Marquis de Lafayette. In 1777, when he was only 19 years old, Lafayette defied the French king's orders and secretly traveled from France to the American colonies to join the Continental Army. Lafayette served under George Washington, who became his father figure. Lafayette's heroic service contributed greatly to the defeat of the British and to the rise of American independence. Lafayette gained fame on both sides of the Atlantic. Back home in France in 1789, Lafayette, with the help of his friend Thomas Jefferson, drafted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. The final version became a portion of the 1791 French Constitution. Lafayette's notoriety prompted President James Monroe to invite him to participate in a celebratory tour of the U.S. Lafayette accepted, and the tour took place from 1824 to 1825. Lafayette was then 67 years old. To observe the Lafayette Bicentennial, let's take a close look at Lafayette, the people and places he visited, what his visit meant back then, and what it means today. When Lafayette visited, there was deep political and social division in the U.S. over westward expansion and slavery. U.S. officials hoped the iconic Lafayette could rekindle the memory of American independence and unify the nation under the banner of patriotism and liberty. Lafayette's tour of northern and southern states drew crowds of excited spectators who enthusiastically cheered for their hero. Celebrations included dinners, speeches, parties, parades, and lots of dancing. In December 1824, Alabama's Governor Israel Pickens invited Lafayette to visit the state of Alabama during the farewell tour. At that time, the Muscogee Creek Nation possessed sovereign territory sandwiched between Georgia and Alabama. Macon County was not established until 1832, after federal officials forced the Creeks to leave their ancestral lands. In early April 1825, Lafayette arrived in the place within Creek territory that would one day be Macon County, Alabama.
The Creek Nation was forcibly removed from Alabama in the 1830s, and this area when white settlers began to move in. Today, the Muscogee Nation is headquartered in Okmulgee, Oklahoma, and serves as the seat of the tribal government. The removal, and the Creek people prefer to refer to it as the removal, not the Trail of Tears, caused immense suffering, hardship, and death. Yet, because of the human existence of the Muscogee people today, we are in this holy space.
Fortunately, time has not completely erased the federal road that Lafayette traveled on while passing through Creek territory in present-day Macon County. Let's look at 3 places that are located near the federal road where Lafayette traveled. First is Bournville Road, near the border of Russell and Macon County. Remnants of the federal road are visible as you travel on Bournville Road. Lafayette and his entourage passed through this area on April 1, 1825. Next is Warrior Stand. which was named for the Creek chief Big Warrior. Lafayette stayed overnight at Big Warrior's Inn on April 1, 1825. Today, the Ridge Project's Interpretive Center is in Warrior Stand on Macon County Road 10, near the presumed location of Big Warrior's Inn. There, Macon County Road 10 is paved over the Federal Road. Third is the Cobbahachie Church near Shorter, Alabama, off U.S. Highway 80. Remnants of the Federal Road that Lafayette traveled on are visible near this location. Now, let's pick back up with a close look at Lafayette, the people and places he visited, what his visit meant back then, and what it means today. While on tour, Lafayette chose to greet and talk with free and enslaved African Americans, including African American War of 1812 veterans. While traveling through Creek territory, Lafayette greeted and talked with Creek people. He showed appreciation for them and their culture and expressed regret for the encroachment upon their ancestral lands. But the organizers of Lafayette's tour emphasized his military achievements, not so much his respect for all people.
You know, when I think about Lafayette, I get very confused because I think the man must have been conflicted in so many ways. You know, he was such good friends with Washington and Jefferson, and yet and Lafayette had given up a lot. I mean, he sacrificed in his life, his wealth and his position and so forth for human rights. And then he had these good friends in America who were slave owners.
Lafayette's relationship with an enslaved man named James Armistead might be one of those overlooked aspects of Lafayette's life. James Armistead gained his enslaver's permission to enlist with Lafayette's French Allied units. Armistead became a spy. Pretending to be a runaway slave, he gained access to the British War Department's headquarters and gathered intel that he turned over to Lafayette. Armistead was a key figure in bringing about the surrender of Lord Cornwallis on October 19, 1781, and the Continental Army's Revolutionary War victory. Instead of rewarding his achievements, the state of Virginia sent Armistead back to Virginia to be enslaved again. For years, Armistead petitioned Congress for his freedom.
Finally, the word got to Lafayette back in France about his friend, and he immediately stepped in and got him free. The thing was that on the tour, he was supposed to be diplomatic and represent the country. In other words, since Monroe had allowed him to come, then he was supposed to kind of build up everything for the next year for the celebration that was coming in 1826. And, you know, he couldn't say certain things. He was inhibited. But when he got to Virginia, he was on the podium speaking, and he looked out in the audience and saw James. And he went out to him in front of everybody. He didn't say anything on the stage because that was the official position that he had to have. He went out and hugged him in front of everybody.
So the African proverb says, until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero.
Right. So now just look at that in terms of power, the concept of power. Lafayette could not express how he really felt and what he saw and what he interpreted because he was not in a powerful position. He was under the auspices of Monroe and other dignitaries across the United States. So when I think about the lion and the hunter, I think about lion meaning the power.
As the nation's guest, Lafayette chose to be silent in public about slavery and the treatment of Native peoples. But during the tour, he demonstrated his belief in liberty for all through spending time with African Americans and Native peoples and through other humanitarian gestures. Lafayette's farewell tour concluded in the fall of 1825. When it was all said and done, did Lafayette unite the nation? Will he, through the bicentennial, unite the nation in 2025?
I don't know what the purpose of the tour was, other than to go see veterans and him to go see the country folks and what they're living after the war, and let them know that I don't know if he was like a show pony or anything else, because the way you all talk about him, as far as you say one thing and he do one thing, as far as him calling the people savages. So it was like, why can't you come from royalty? It seemed like, why can't you speak your mind? They not paying you. Why are you conforming to what they're telling you to say, and then do something different when you're not in their face? So it didn't unify, but it made them feel good.
I think his tour was to celebrate and remind people of a military victory, and I think, just like us, they were probably not aware of his idea of liberty and abolition and those kinds of things. And I think our country is just as divided, or more so now, and oversimplified. There are the good guys and the bad guys, and we need to send the bad guys back to where they came from.
It is true that during his tour, Lafayette chose to be publicly silent about his belief in liberty for all. But his silence and his humanitarian deeds offer lessons in 2025, when America once again is divided. An earlier question was, will the Lafayette Bicentennial unite our country today? But whose turn is it to work for unity today? Lafayette's or ours?